out. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Training Camp Live, presented by Atlantic Health System.
After a light day on Tuesday, the pads are back on here at One Jets Drive. Welcome to Training Camp Live, presented by Atlantic Health System. Eric Allen and Ethan Greenberg here in the BetMGM studio. We'll hear from Olivia Landis from the sideline later on. And today, let's kick things off with just a time frame perspective. This time last year, August 19th, the Jets were preparing for their third preseason game, and today they had their second padded practice.
I'm ready to roll. You're talking about time. I set the alarm clock for 6 o'clock this morning. I was up at 5:45. Adam Gase went light with the Jets yesterday, more of a walkthrough. He said he wanted them to focus on conditioning and also, what the Jets are dealing with right now are a number of soft tissue injuries. Mm-hmm. So Scales back on Tuesday, and here Wednesday and Thursday, padded practices, not full pads because just shoulder pads.
And as the Jets continue to practice, the NFL and the NFLPA have laid out a practice time schedule, meaning each practice they can increase the amount of time that they're on the field. And that leads us to today's top headline presented by JetBlue. Chris Hogan, a member of the New York Jets, he's on the field for the first time in green and white number 15 in stretches right now.
There's some breaking news. So yesterday, Adam Gase told reporters that Hogan was going to take his physical, and of course had to go through the COVID testing. But this is an encouraging sign getting Chris Hogan out there on the field, because the Jets are dealing with injuries at the wide receiver position. In fact, the last couple days practicing with 7 wideouts. Vincent Smith has a core injury. Denzel Mims dealing with that hamstring, the nagging hamstring. And then finally, Braxton Berrios was out yesterday because of personal reasons. But 32 years old, Chris Hogan, and people in New Jersey know him very well, a Monmouth product who is now suiting up for his 4th AFC East team.
Chris Hogan, a couple things on him. You mentioned he went to Monmouth. He's from Ramapo, New Jersey. He started his collegiate career as a Nittany Lion, played lacrosse for Penn State before transferring to Monmouth. What do you think he adds to this Jets receiver room that's a little thin right now because of the injuries you mentioned?
Veteran experience. Last year, don't get caught up in the numbers you saw from Hogan in Carolina, because he went on injured reserve with the knee injury. But this is a guy who has averaged 13.3 yards of reception over the course of his career. And there are system parallels between what Adam Gase runs and Josh McDaniels in New England. And of course, Chris Hogan had a lot of success in New England playing with perhaps the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady. But the Jets think he is a good fit. And when we think about Jamison Crowder, he's entrenched there at the slot position. Brashad Perryman, a big-time vertical threat. Who is going to be the starter opening day across from Perryman? You bring in Hogan. You have a veteran who is going to make a quick transition, I would anticipate. And hopefully, knock on wood or knock on glass here in the BetMGM studio, you're going to get Denzel Mims back into action on the practice field soon.
Like you said, Adam Gase did mention that he hopes a lot of these players that have soft tissue injuries, such as Denzel Mims, will return to practice next week. And that man right there, I know the Jets have only had one padded practice, but there's a saying, you only have one first impression, and I think it's safe to say Mekhi Becton left a pretty good one on his teammates. Let's take a listen to what his teammates had to say on the Great Wall of Green.
First thing that stands out is just his size, and even today in practice, I had to come down and take him on one-on-one, and let's just say that didn't go so good for me, but it's been fun to watch him, fun to compete against him, and I think he's going to help our offense out big time this year.
Yeah, he caught me. He was running the play, and I was trying to get into a gap. He came off the ball pretty good. I was pretty impressed. It was a pretty big fella. If you see him coming, you better go at him, because if you off guard, he gonna get you.
Man, you see him out there, he look different, man. One of the biggest guys out there. Now, I just got to see more first down pass. Just got to keep. I just got to, me. Every day I just got to watch him and watch film and get the feel of not just him, just everybody. Then I could tell, but first day he was talking to me out there, just he's saying I'm gonna get you forward, I'm gonna get and I like that.
I feel bad for any future defensive back that has to go one-on-one with that man right there, number 77.
Rare size. So he came to camp weighing 370 pounds. Offensive line coach Frank Pollock said, is that the number that we want him at? No. What is the magic number? The Jets aren't releasing what that magic number is. Becton said the transition to the National Football League, the pace is a lot faster here. But, yeah, these guys have been very complimentary of the rookie, the number 11 overall selection. And I like what he also said, that he's leaning on left guard Alex Lewis and also veteran tackle George Fant as far as getting advice and soaking up the knowledge from those guys. And they're kind of taking him under their respective wings. But, yeah, this guy, 6'7", 360 pounds, if he gets his hands on you, you're in trouble. And that's what Neville Hewitt just said, is that you got to meet him, because if you're waiting for him, forget about it. And that was his first pancake block in camp.
I feel like if there's any player that's excited to wear the pads, that'd be number 77, Mekhi Becton, because he said it yesterday. It's been a while since the Jets or any player has hit somebody, especially if you're a rookie going through the scouting process, the pre-draft process. Now he's a member of the Jets. He actually said that the two guys he's faced the most so far in training camp lined up against, Jordan Jenkins and Quinnen Williams. And Jordan Jenkins actually took to Instagram yesterday, and he posted a photo of the two of them going up against another. There it is. He said, only Mekhi Becton could make me look this small. And then, of course, Mekhi Becton, you see the mutual respect here. Mekhi Becton commenting, appreciate you getting me better, bro. And Jordan Jenkins says, let's keep working.
You're right about that. And we watched them during one-on-ones the other day, and Jordan beat him to the inside.
Yes,
but
he
then
did.
Becton came back on the next snap, and he handled Jordan to the outside. So you want to make each other better, and he is going to get better each and every day with everything he sees. And oh, by the way, Greg Williams is going to throw a lot at the rookie here.
And I think maybe the most impressive part about Becton, we knew he was going to be physical, but Adam Gase said that he's not swimming in the playbook, and I think that's encouraging more so than anything physical about Mekhi Becton right now.
Yeah, and Frank Pollock said the other day that, hey, he's got a great personality. He's fun to talk to and coach. And Becton thinks that he's going to pick up the playbook faster now that he's on the field. Again, unprecedented offseason, especially for a rookie. You feel bad for some of these guys because they're living in the virtual world. There's only so much you can do. You got to get on the grass. He's on the grass. He's getting after it. There's going to be moments when guys like Jordan Jenkins are going to have their way, but listen, he has such a high ceiling, and the Jets are so excited to have him as part of their program. And I keep on coming back to that foundational pillar. You want this guy to be blocking for Sam Darnold for 10-plus years.
And you and I talked about injuries earlier, and the rookie class, they're dealing with their own injuries, such as Denzel Mims. But with injuries comes opportunities for later on in the depth chart. And one guy, that's Jeff Smith. He's entering his second season with the green and white. And now let's head down to our Field Pass segment presented by Toyota with Olivia Landis. Liv, what can you tell us about Jeff Smith? With the umbrella. Okay, it's raining.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much. Yeah, as you can tell, it's raining out here. Nothing too serious. I'm not going to melt, but thank you for your concern. Yesterday, head coach Adam Gase was asked about which one of the younger wide receivers has impressed him during the first couple of weeks of training camp so far. And he mentioned Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith has a very interesting story because he's an undrafted free agent that came out of Boston College, and he was signed with the Jets in April of 2019. He spent most of the 2019 season on the practice squad, but he did get activated and received an opportunity on Thursday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens last year before he sustained an injury that led him to IR for the rest of the season. Now, something super interesting about Smith is that he was a former quarterback before he turned wide receiver. Gase thinks that that has actually played in his favor because he's able to really read the position a little bit better than he would have thought. He said he's got some natural separation, which has led him to some first-team reps, like you mentioned, Ethan, and he said he's really impressed within the first couple of weeks of camp.
Yeah, Liv, 72 receptions at Boston College. Jeff Smith for 1,078 yards. He also was a factor in the run game. You mentioned the quarterback background, but he's got tremendous speed, and I think the Jets have added a lot of speed to their wide receiver core here in 2020. But Liv, the big story down on the field right now is the guy we're watching on camera. That is Chris Hogan, the veteran receiver, is here practicing, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I was listening to you guys earlier on in the show, and you had mentioned how, the camera was on him, and it's good to finally see him out at practice, because yesterday head coach Adam Gase was asked about him and asked if he's going to be on the field anytime soon. Gase did say that he still did have to pass his physical and the COVID test, which was yesterday. So now that he's on the field, we can obviously see that wide receiver group has had a lot of injuries as of late. So it's good to get some more veteran presence in that group.
Awesome. Thanks, Liv. We'll hear from you later in the show. And one thing on Jeff Smith, I find it very interesting, EA, for somebody that signed as an undrafted free agent last season under the old regime, missed essentially the entirety of training camp in the preseason with an injury, and then finds a spot on the practice squad under Joe Douglas and the new regime. So what does that tell you about Jeff Smith, or maybe about what the Jets think of Jeff Smith?
Well, I think you impressed Adam Gase, because the practice squad is very important. That's what you want to see, is development from players. And he was basically on the practice squad for the entirety of the season. He came on, you felt really bad for him because he played against the Baltimore Ravens, got some reps, and unfortunately went down in that ball game. But he's in the infancy stages of being a wide receiver, so you got to think that they like his ceiling. And again, Adam Gase was asked directly about it. Yeah, we know about Perriman, we know about Crowder, but who's the guy maybe under the radar? And he threw out a lot of praise for Smith, and this is a guy who can fly. And he understands concepts and route concepts because he did play the quarterback position. So he's a guy we will be watching throughout training camp. In fact, you almost feel bad that there aren't preseason games, because Smith is a guy I bet you would have been featured in those preseason games. But with that being said, Adam Gase had some news about the Jets actually going to MetLife Stadium, didn't he, this summer?
Yes, he did. He said that because of everything going on, of course, the Jets' first opponent will be the Bills. No fans in the stands, but what the Jets will do is simulate a game at MetLife Stadium with nobody there, see how the players have to react to an environment like that, and then a lot with personnel, too, where they're going to be situated in the press box, socially distant. And wrapping things up with Jeff Smith, he's getting opportunity because of injuries on the outside. And with that, let's take a look at our training camp injury update presented by Atlantic Health System. It's a laundry list right now, unfortunately, but the one that stands out, second to last, Vincent Smith underwent core muscle surgery yesterday.
I feel bad for him, because he was going to be in competition to be one of those starters on opening day. But 7 catches last season for 225 yards, big playability. Another guy who's got the size, got the speed, sub 4.4 speed, but kind of a freak injury at practice. Gase said, I kind of didn't see it happen. The next thing you know, he's holding his core. He goes to see a specialist. Now he's got to get surgery, 5 to 8 weeks. So we'll have to see what happens. And, who is going to step up now, not only at the receiver position, because we focused a lot here early on the receivers because then we're dealing with a lot of injuries, but this also impacts special teams because Vincent Smith was one of your kick returners last season. So there's some other guys who are going to have opportunities to go back there. Watch out for Ashton Davis out of Cal. We saw his athleticism right on social media the other day, but he's a burner. He's got some kick returner experience, and Josh Malone as well.
I'm glad you mentioned that because Vincent Smith was one of 2 of the Jets kick returners last year. Ty Montgomery was the other. He's now with the New Orleans Saints. Vincent Smith out 5 to 8 weeks. Yeah. Just like out wide, who's going to step up at kick returner? Ashton Davis did return kicks at Cal. We know he has that track speed, averaged 22.9 yards per return. And let's talk about the quarterbacks here on Training Camp Live, presented by Atlantic Health System, because it wouldn't be a show if we didn't talk about the quarterbacks, would it? That man right there, number 14, knock on glass, as you said, knock on wood, not injured. But the guys behind him, who was brought in to back up Sam Darnold, still on the physically unable to perform list, that would be Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco, 35 years old. It's not very often where you can sign a quarterback in the offseason who's a former Super Bowl MVP to be your backup. Flacco is of the thinking that he still views himself as a starting quarterback in the National Football League, as every backup in the NFL should think. With that being said, he started camp here on the PUP list. You always see number 5 next to Adam Gase at practice. After Sam Darnold takes a snap and goes through a play, you see the exchanges between Flacco, Adam Gase, and Darnold. He can be an extra set of eyes and ears for Sam Darnold. This is a guy, again, 35 years old. You're not going to throw anything at Flacco that he hasn't seen before. So that's a big-time pickup for the Jets, because Sam Darnold was 7-6 as a starter last season, but in games he has not started in his career. The New York Jets are 0-6.
That's a good stat right there. And, of course, Sam Darnold, his rookie season, leaned heavily on Josh McCown. Now, 2 years after the fact, Sam Darnold is ahead of Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco can help him out, as you said. And really quickly here on the quarterback room as a whole, you mentioned 0-6 without Darnold in there. Another set of eyes. I know it's a young set of eyes in NFL years. That's James Morgan. And the rookie quarterback played for Florida International, started his career at Bowling Green. And the Jets really like James Morgan because of what he has up top. They think he's an extremely sharp quarterback.
Yeah, and he's a big kid who can make all the NFL throws, and they were really impressed with him when they had an opportunity to sit down with him at the Combine, and he just has off-the-charts intelligence. So you bring in guys like Flacco, you're going to groom a guy like James Morgan, who ultimately he could end up being Sam Darnold's backup down the line. Right. You're in good hands right now with Joe Flacco, but he's a big kid, can make all the throws, and he sees the game very well. So you like where the quarterback room is headed, and especially with number 14 under center. You really want, if you're the Jets, for him to start 16 games for the first time in his NFL career. But you're in better hands now once Flacco comes off the PUP list, because he's a guy who can come in and manage a game or manage a stretch of games for you.
Speaking of the PUP list, Avery Williamson still on the physically unable to perform list. And just to give a glimpse of how quickly things can change in the NFL, 2 weeks ago, we could have said or made the argument that inside linebacker was the Jets' deepest position. And now without C.J. Mosley, Avery Williamson still on the PUP list. James Burgess now out with a low back. The 3 guys that remain standing are Neville Hewitt, Blake Cashman, and Patrick Owasso.
Yeah, and Cashman and Neville Hewitt have been getting most of the run when we've been watching the first team defense out there. You're hoping, we watch Avery Williamson each day, and it seems like he is nearing a return. But yeah, so there's been some injuries, and then Mosley most notable with the opt-out, but the Jets do have experience playing without him. Cashman has come to camp looking really impressive physically, I would say, and he also grew from the experience last year. He's probably the Jets' most athletic linebacker. He tells you that his number one trait is, I can go out and cover people. So in Greg Williams' defense, he can come in sometimes in sub packages and help you out in the coverage situations. He's also saying he's doing a better job of getting downhill and holding up against the offensive linemen and getting involved in that run defense. I thought Neville Hewitt was fantastic last season, and he, again, could be your Mike linebacker in 2020.
The good news is, even though there are injuries at that position, all the players on the Jets roster currently have starting experience. Actually, of the healthy ones, Patrick Owasso, Peanut, has
who we're watching right now.
That's him right there, number 51 with the color-tinted visor. I think the mouthpiece up. That's an interesting look. I'm not going to judge it here, but I think what a lot of Jets fans don't know is that Peanut has started the most games out of Neville Hewitt, James Burgess, and Blake Cashman. Avery Williamson actually is probably the only one that has started more games than Owasso right now.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is Owasso, actually in Baltimore, he was the guy tabbed to replace C.J. Mosley. Now he follows C.J. Mosley here as a free agent and is here as well. You mentioned Burgess. We'll have to see what happens on the practice field today because he was dealing with a lower back issue. So hopefully he gets back on the field because Burgess finished second on this team in tackles last season. Of course, he was with Greg Williams in Cleveland, and Williams did a great job with him because he's a smaller inside linebacker, but Williams employed him awfully well in 2019.
So to wrap up Training Camp Live, presented by Atlantic Health System, it's a bit of a rainy day outside, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to end things on a lighter note here. We're going to bring back Olivia Landis, and we're going to end with a lighthearted question. We'll start with EA, we'll bring in Liv, and then I'll end things. If you were to cast a movie, which actor would you choose to play Sam Darnold?
Okay, so I was slow to the draw the other day. I got to apologize to everybody, okay? So I'm going to be quicker with my answer. I was thinking about Clint Eastwood because he's from California, but geez, that doesn't make any sense. He's 90 years old. A young Clint Eastwood maybe. But how about Chris Pratt? Here's a guy who's in some superhero movies, and he's considered a selfless dude who's going to make the sacrifices for everybody else. So I'll go with Pratt, and he's got a tint of red in his hair.
All right, there you go. Chris Pratt and young Clint Eastwood. Liv, who are you going with?
I'm just going to say, EA, you stole my thunder a little bit.
Yeah.
No pun intended. You stole my thunder a little bit with the superhero part, but I am actually going to say, and a lot of people are probably going to turn their heads on this one, but I'm going to say Robert Downey Jr. now. Obviously, the two of them have nothing in common when it comes to looks. But when I think about Iron Man, I think that him and Sam Darnold have very similar personalities, maybe the same type of demeanor, because Iron Man is very low-key, he's chill, and then when he gets in his suit, he's crazy and on his game. So I think Sam Darnold is a little like that. You know, people think he's low-key and chill, but when he gets on the field, he knows the stuff.
Okay, so let the record show that Liv just called Sam Darnold crazy.
To be fair, I think
Sam,
she also called him Iron Man, but that's okay.
I got him as Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that's good.
Okay, so far we have Chris Pratt and a young Clint Eastwood. We have Robert Downey Jr. And I'm going to wrap things up by, I'll give the first guy I was going to go with was Vince Vaughn, like a younger Vince Vaughn, similar height, kind of, this is going to sound maybe excessive, kind of a larger head.
Whoa.
But yeah, I know. I think Sam's kind of got a big head. But my real answer is Jesse Plemons, who played a character in Breaking Bad. If I could get my words out of my mouth, that'd be great. So Jesse Plemons, he was in Friday Night Lights before, and then he was in Breaking Bad. He's got red hair. He needs to trim down a little bit, but I think Jesse Plemons might be the guy for me.
I've never seen Breaking Bad.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm starting to get in the streaming bit.
Liv, have you seen Breaking Bad?
I've seen the first couple of seasons, but I'm not going to lie, I lost a little bit of interest. But I would just like the record to show I may have called Sam crazy, but you said he had a big head.
I did.
Buddy.
I did.
That is right.
I did. Yeah, you're 100% right, and I stand by my words.
And I stand by Chris Pratt, and Sam Darnold is the Guardian of the Galaxy.
All right. Thanks, Liv. Appreciate it. We'll see you at practice soon. That's all we have here on Training Camp Live, presented by Atlantic Health System. Back here tomorrow, EA and Olivia Landis in studio. I'll be on the field. Many thanks to everyone involved. EarthCam providing some beautiful shots of the field, and we'll see you tomorrow.